Okay, guys. Well, welcome to the Chao Hanoi Roundtable.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate the table is not round. A few of you already brought that up. So if any of our sponsors are listening, we would love a round table.
Yeah.
And we will mention the name of your furniture company if you give us a round table. So it's the first round table, and today we're going to talk about comedy. So you guys are some of the most famous expat comedians and Vietnamese comedians in the whole of Hanoi,
Right.
which is, I presume there are millions of you. So to have the very best here, it's a big thing. We have Eric Garcia. I think you're from LA in the US. Is that right?
Yeah, from Los Angeles, California.
And we have Kelso Dowling. I believe you're from Washington, DC.
Yes, I am.
Remy Johnson. I believe you're a comedian from Brisbane in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And the brilliantly named Uncle Minkus. From Hanoi.
Yes, the token native of the group.
Yeah, yeah. And we are Chao Hanoi, so we just had to get you on.
Of course.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have bothered. No, we would. No, what I want to know is, right, comedy, like, why on earth do you guys do it? You get up on stage and you have to be funny. I guess sometimes you're not, occasionally. Why would you do that? Kelso, what's going through your mind?
I just like making people laugh. And so I have a theater background, and I really wanted to try it. But I didn't know if I was going to be good at it or not.
Are you?
And I think I'm okay, yeah. There's been times where, I definitely have bombed. And, but, all in all, I like going back on because laughter is my, my drug, I should say.
Drug.
Yeah.
It's like mainlining it.
Yeah. I'm like, well, please.
What about you, Uncle Minkus? What was your... you just like making people laugh, or?
Well, yeah, I guess it was like a attempt at self-therapy.
Self-therapy.
Yeah, and so far it's going very well. I mean, the disease and not
The disease
not the
is good,
treatment.
but
the
not the
mental
therapy.
illness is going very well. So no, but seriously, it is such a rush when people laugh at your joke, and it's just like you walking on air, and it's like a drug, and you want to go back and you do it again.
Right. So you're basically like junkies, all of you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
stand up feels good, junkin'.
What about you, Remy? What inspires you to get on
man.
stage and expose yourself? Not
Have
literally.
you ever tap danced for your friends and you're like pulling out all these great lines and stuff and they don't appreciate it and you're like, oh, my talent is wasted on you, you know? And then that started to fester over a couple of years. I'm like, I've got to pull this out on stage one day. I've got to do something with it. Because I hate pulling out jokes for your friends and it just goes over the top of their heads. Like, after a while, they just don't care anymore. They don't appreciate it.
So you do comedy because your friends are not that intelligent.
Yes,
That-
100%. I hope they all hear this.
It's good. I should get into comedy in that case. And Eric, what about you? What are your other than this drug thing? What is the?
Oh man, I don't know. I've always said comedy is freedom in its fullest. When I'm up there, I'm uninhibited. I'm unhindered. I really get to have all my thoughts. The thoughts that I share with my friends, but also the thoughts that I keep in the back, and I just share it all out and do it to a good beat or a good rule of three and get it out there. So yeah, when I'm on stage is probably when you'll see me most uninhibited. Yeah.
Uninhibited. You keep your clothes on.
Yeah, no, I keep my clothes on, absolutely.
For now.
For now, yeah.
You should get better. You
One
can
of the
get-
comedians
Block
that does.
tablets.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
One of the comedians that does keep his clothes on.
You
Yeah.
feel free on stage.
Oh,
and I'm
absolutely.
shitting myself up there.
I mean, for the first 6 months, I was actually was hell for me because I would get the urge to puke right before I went on, and then I wanted every time for the first 6 months I wanted to go up to the host and be like, I got a family emergency, I need to go. But you just plow through it, and then after 6 months, I just got used to it, and then once that period was over for me, I was able to start playing around with different jokes and styles, but it took some time. Obviously the freedom I felt definitely offset the sickness I felt before. The freedom and the joy I felt after my sets was way better than
Yeah.
the sickness and
I hate getting on stage, but I love getting off stage. That's the ticket, you know?
Yeah, for a long time, like a year when I first started, we were doing shows for Dan Dupree at the Hanoi Comedy Group, and every
Great
time,
guy.
Yeah,
Great
he's a great guy who is fucking absent.
Kinda.
So can't rely on on him for anything. Anyway, so we were supporting international comedians coming here, and I would get a support spot on it. And every time on the way driving to the gig, I felt sick in my body. And I seriously, every time I had the thought of calling Dan and say, I can't. Somebody's dying back home or something.
Yeah.
No, but then
How
you
many
just
kids
plow
do you
through
have?
it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like Eric, you said about when you're on stage, it's the time when you feel like most uninhibited.
Mm-hmm.
So, what I'm quite interested is, and for all of you, is like when you're on stage, are you like more yourself, or are you like a different person? Are you a fake version of yourself? Because uninhibited, you're usually not uninhibited.
Usually, yeah, I'm an introvert, and I say that on stage. I mentioned that on stage where I don't really go out. If you don't see me at work or if you don't see me on stage, then you don't really see me. So when I'm on stage, I'm performing. That's really when I become an extrovert, and I share thoughts that I have. I share my inner workings of my mind with people, and so it's that freedom of I'm no longer shy. I've been doing this for 7 years, so I built some confidence there that I know whatever I can say it well enough that the crowd will like it to an extent.
Right. Yeah. Because I sort of sometimes think that the comedians they're not shy, but you're saying maybe you're doing it because you're shy, and it changes things for you on the
Well,
stage.
I love comedy. I've loved it since I was 6. So I mean, that's really the driving force of why I perform is my love for it. But I just think, I think once I started doing comedy, I've actually started becoming more shy. In the sense that I don't really go out as much, and before that I would go out, hang out with friends, be a social butterfly. But then once I started comedy, I kind of took a more introverted route.
Okay. And what about you, Kelso? On stage, are you yourself, or are you someone different? Or
100% myself.
yeah. You're just, if I meet you on the stage and I meet you now, or I meet you before an hour ago, you're pretty much just the same person.
Maybe I'm a little more chill, but I think all the stories I tell and everything that I do is either something that happened to me or just my thoughts on something. Granted, for comedy, it's probably a bit exaggerated, and some character work may be involved, but it's I usually just speak my truth, so it's usually me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Minkus, I've seen you on the stage only once, sadly.
I'm sorry.
No, it was very, very funny. The thing you said about foreigners stealing Vietnamese people's ex-wives. I haven't stolen anyone's ex-wife yet, but are you? I've seen you on stage. I can't imagine you're kind of that kind of guy all the time, unless you are just always hilarious.
I don't know, but I guess there is nothing that I said up there that is not me. It is all me. Very exaggerated form, yes, but
Yeah,
it
it's the
is.
stuff you'd say to your parents over dinner.
I haven't talked to them for 9 years.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that would be an awkward dinner.
Very much.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I mean, performing is just a rush, and like Eric said, I'm also a very introvert and not a sociable person at all. But so comedy is like the proof that I can give to myself that I can survive socially, and I can do these things, and I can mix up with people.
You can survive.
Yeah, and
I
like
feel the song is about. I think you're about to go into song.
So you have this insecurity about how cool you are.
You're
But
cool,
then-
man. You're cool.
Yes.
Ish.
Getting roasted right now.
Right? No, he's cool. He's very cool.
Jesus, really?
I heard that.
Yeah.
Ish, come on.
Ish.
What about you, Remy? Are you? I'm getting like mixed. Are you the same person on stage, or are you like an exaggerated version of yourself?
We don't meet many comedians who get on stage and affect a totally false personality, like come up with a brand new character. It's kind of an extension. But on the other hand, I totally lie about bullshit just to make it funny. Like I've got a bit where I complain about vaginas being ugly. I don't believe that, but it's not as funny to get on stage
they're
and go,
absolutely
vaginas
not
are all
ugly."
beautiful and like unique
I would agree.
organs. That's not funny.
Me and
you know?
Kelso know that vaginas, they're beautiful things.
Right? Like that?
Hands up if you think vaginas are not attractive. There you go.
That's much funnier. That's much funnier. So if I'm on stage and I'm like, that's kind of me
See the
lying in a
cameraman
way.
put his hand up.
So that's
But,
not my beliefs, but I'll go up there and say
Pan
it
to the
because it's funny.
cameraman.
Yeah.
Just-
Okay, well, let's talk about Hanoi then. Obviously, you know, we're all based in Hanoi. You're from Hanoi.
I'm sorry.
No, we're all here because we love it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Huh?
Well, I'm stuck here.
I think we're all stuck here.
Yeah, right now. Give us
At the
the
moment we are. You know, obviously it's a wonderful city for so many reasons. So many reasons to hate it, I guess, if you grew up here, maybe.
Why are you looking at me when you say
Well,
reason to hate it?
well, you live here, so you've got a kind of a bit of a different spin on it to us. We're like, oh, it's so cute.
It is cute.
But for you, you might have a different angle on it. No, I'm just wondering about. I mean, you guys have done comedy outside of Hanoi, right?
Yeah.
What is it? How is it different performing here?
Time is way different. You know, back home I was performing in New Orleans for a couple of years, and that's where I got my start. And you know, I remember the host walked up to me and was like, "All right, you ready?" His first time I was like, "Yeah, you got 2 minutes." And I was like, "What?" Like, you got 2 minutes to perform. That's it. So
So fast.
Yeah, so fast. So I had 2 minutes, first time ever. I had to get my entire thoughts concise. But that was
Sounds like when I lost my virginity.
yeah. You got 2 minutes, son. Yeah.
Be quick.
There you go.
He
That's my
should
boy.
be doing comedy, I think.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say, we're gonna
No.
You
got 5 minutes?
No, I did try, and very quickly I worked out I wasn't very good. So now I'm podcasting.
There you go.
Yeah. How about for you, Kel? So what's it like in Hanoi? What's the buzz?
Yeah, I'd say time definitely very similar. In DC, it was like maybe you got 5 minutes, and you also had to bring 4 friends, and
Yeah.
you also wouldn't get on until like midnight on a Wednesday, so it was quite hard to get stage time. And here everyone's like has been really open. Like I just came in and said, you know, I've done stand-up comedy before. Is it okay? And they were like, yeah, get in here. But I think since I've been in and then other new people have come in, it's been the same for them, and they've been like pretty excited about it. And yeah, so I think the community here's really good to try.
And what are the crowds like? I'm guessing, and I'm just guessing because I've only been to a couple of shows, that it's mainly a foreign audience and not so Vietnamese. Is that right? Or
Yeah, the majority is foreigners, but there's a healthy chunk of Vietnamese patrons that come out as well, you know?
It is great.
Is
Yeah.
that? Yeah, really. I haven't seen much of them.
There's always dudes with their girlfriends.
Because you're too busy
Yeah.
checking out the white chicks, man.
We're on camera. Just don't say these things.
And I used to watch a little bit of stand-up comedy in China, and I remember it was always very much this cross-cultural stuff, which I thought maybe was unavoidable. Is that the same here? It's got to be like, so I'm a white guy, and then these Vietnamese people.
I am not that perceptive of my environment. I'm the one comedian that cannot make jokes about living in Hanoi, because everyone's like, how about this? How about that? I'm like, I don't pay attention to my environment.
Right.
If you're
can't do
smart,
that.
you won't
I
do
can't
it.
do that. It does make your jokes universal though. Like when I go to Bangkok, I can use my whole set there because I'm not
Yeah.
relying on Hanoi material.
Exactly.
But
Okay.
different styles, different people.
Okay, and I was thinking, like, I mean, because you're actually the only person here, I think, who's
Yes.
doing comedy in not your native tongue, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah. How is that? I mean, if you had to do comedy in Vietnamese, would it be the same, or would it be like?
I wouldn't do comedy in Vietnamese.
You wouldn't do
I
it?
couldn't, even if I wanted to, because it's just a different sense of humor. And so I started watching stand-up comedy in English. It's just a natural thing for me to imitate and then create something of my own in that language. So I don't make the distinction in terms of the language at all.
Okay.
So I just contradicted myself, but
No, and you just said something that I thought was quite interesting. You said it's a different sense of humour.
it is.
How, like, for me, just a laugh is a laugh. You know?
Mhm.
What would someone, or what would a Western person find really funny that a Vietnamese person would be like, what? This is not really a joke.
Yeah, I've thought about that, and I suppose a joke in English when it's translated into Vietnamese would be funny, but the Vietnamese sense of humor is very much to do with the ridiculousness of a social situation. I think about the traditional, like great traditional old jokes, and it's all to do with somebody being ridiculous in a social way.
Right.
But the Western sense of humor is very much to do with the logic and the surprise.
Okay.
So something is surprising but logical at the same time. So it's a different way of looking at the same thing that makes it funny. And the I suppose the Asian sense of humor is quite different, you know. But also we appreciate the joke when people understand it.
Is that something you're conscious of, Remy? Do you like if suddenly you turned up and it was 100% Vietnamese crowd, would you try to change your comedy at all, or?
No, not really, because I'm not good at improv. But when you were in China, did you run across any Chinese comedians? Because I didn't the whole time. But while we've been in Vietnam, there's a good influx of Vietnamese comedians coming and going. So I think there has to be some kind of commonality, overlap in our tastes.
Yeah, but the thing is, those comedians, myself included, most of them have been in the West. They live and study and worked in the West.
Right.
I haven't met any of them. There are not many of them anyway, but all of us, none of us, I think, has been exclusively Vietnamese in our cultural outlook.
Right. So exposure, eh?
Yeah.
Because there were no Chinese comedians that I ever saw. I don't know if they've got Thai comedians in Bangkok. They've never mentioned
now
it.
that you mention it.
So the Vietnamese people, we've got a good sense of humor between us too. Like
because we like the Western people and we try to be like them.
It's like
That's true.
obviously
It's not even a joke.
Yeah.
with comedy, the identity comes into. And I'm going to ask you this question, Kelso, and you're probably going to want to punch me in the face, but I will ask it. Obviously, you're a gay comedian. Why
is that an air quotes?
I know.
I'm
Are
really
you?
gay.
Sorry, I double air quotes. No,
I don't
sorry.
believe it. Kelso.
Is it like annoying? Am I annoying you now asking this question?
No,
is
no,
it
no,
just like, I mean,
I don't know what the question is.
but do you feel like you're pigeonholed as a gay comedian, or do you feel you have to get on stage and talk about vaginas and being gay, or do you just ignore that and be yourself? Well, you are gay, so I don't know what my question is.
That's
You
okay.
you invent a question.
I think I got
and
you.
answer
I
it.
got you. No, I think I present pretty queer in general, so I don't have to be like, I'm queer, by the way. So any of the jokes that I do make are sort of the opposite of that, where I'm like, I'm not gay. You know, because it's like pretty clear. It is like it's an. If I chose to talk about it, I definitely could. There's a lot of material from it, but I wouldn't say it completely identifies my comedy.
Right. It comes up, but not like you don't come on and.
Yeah, it's not my
getting-
shtick.
it's like, hey, vaginas. I love them.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Cool. As I said, I have briefly tried what you guys do, and I failed. And there were some embarrassing moments where I just bombed. Have you? Tell me about your embarrassing moments and when you guys have bombed, if you have.
Yo, I still blame Zuma's room. I bombed at Zuma, but it's because of the room. I still blame the room, but that was the worst bomb I had. Like, no noise, no reactions, none whatsoever the whole time. And it's excruciating. It's horrible, man. Raped raw, you're so naked in front of people. And I personally think that watching someone bomb in comedy is unlike seeing someone screw up at anything else. You can watch someone sing badly or do something badly, but if someone is bringing out all their jokes and they're floundering on stage, it's dark and uncomfortable, and I see that person differently forever after that. I'm like, loser.
You do. You judge them, even though you're in the same.
Yeah, exactly. So when it's happening to you, you're like, no, my naked soul. They're spitting on it.
Rinkus?
It is a cold place when you go. It is like a cold, bottomless pit that you're falling.
Endless void.
Yeah. And the worst thing is you have to keep going because that's the only
Or
way
do you?
to go through it. You can't just leave the stage.
So sorry, I'm not enjoying myself. I'm going, right?
Yeah, you gotta do your minutes, man. You gotta do your time. Or do you like? I don't know. I've seen.
Wow,
Kelso
you're
just give
like
I'm so- I'm turning
you've got
so
some
red.
moments here, I feel.
The one time I did so bad, yeah. Sorry, I just like
Again,
Go
not
for
your
it, go
fault.
for it.
That was
What
the room.
happened this time?
I just couldn't handle it. I just left.
You just walked off.
Yeah, I was just like, and I just went. That's probably the most embarrassing. Yeah.
Jesus.
But
That was backpackers though. That was
Yeah.
the room. See how badly a room can affect you.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
different.
Yeah,
That
that's
room
different.
was
That's
horrible.
different. That's different.
Oh.
Yeah, let's blame the room.
Yeah, but let's remove
Yeah.
responsibility.
Some people just don't understand
Yeah,
good
but-
comedy.
We did it
Right.
at a
Sensitive.
backpackers.
Right.
We did it at a backpackers, and it was just a room full of like yelling, drunk 20-year-olds playing beer pong and trying to mate in the corner and stuff like that. So you
Mate.
can
Or
try.
like, wait,
They're
what's up with this
humans. They're not
traffic? It's like, no, they're not
Not
gonna
drunk
listen.
20-year-olds, man. They are not humans. They were mating.
Oh my god. Yeah, man.
Sometimes it's the room. Sometimes.
Sorry, what were you saying?
Oh my god, I'm just remembering the worst time I bombed, man. Comedians, naturally, we are insecure. Like, that's just something we have. A lot of people are insecure.
Speak for yourself only.
Right, right.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, look, everyone has insecurities, but comedians tend to, like, we delve into that because that's where some of our material comes from.
That's true.
So I was doing a set / hosting a quiz, and they're like, yeah, man, do some comedy, it'll be great. I was like, all right, where's my mic? No mic, just yell it out. I was like, all right, cool, I'm just gonna yell it out into this crowd. And I'm yelling out my jokes into this crowd, and I'm bombing. Like, this was like horrible. I was like, all right, let's get back to the quiz. And then I got to go right back into another set to like warm the crowd up. It was the longest hour and a half of my life. And I remember I looked in the audience and was like, my ex is there. She's getting some validation from this.
Oh.
And it was just that.
She was loving it.
Yeah, she was loving it.
Brutal.
Oh man.
You're so
And-
funny, Eric.
Well, it's fine. Well, the funny thing is, like, rooms definitely can impact things, but it wasn't my crowd. I mean, I looked around. I tell a lot of racial jokes, and I talk a lot about racism and, inconsistencies and, confirmation biases and stuff like that in my material. And this was just not, like, this was that crowd. I was like, ooh, don't make us think about that. Like, it was that type of crowd. I was like, all right, fair enough. You want to jolly old
Okay.
time.
Sometimes I freak out when I see the crowd and they're wearing like scarves and drinking tea. I'm like, oh, you guys are like
You're in it.
cultured.
Go around pouring vodka in their tea to loosen them up a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know they're not going to be into it, man.
Hi, thank you so much for listening to the Chao Hanoi Roundtable Comedy Podcast. A quick word to our sponsors, Hanoi Beer, thank you so much for sponsoring us. And a quick thank you to our venue, Mikey's Resto Bar, the #1 Filipino bar in the whole of Hanoi. Are there lines? Are there things, that I've seen people say, you don't joke about rape, for example. Can we joke about rape? Can we joke about the coronavirus while the world is melting? What are your thoughts on that?
You can do it, but you got to make it funny, and then don't have a cry if you're not funny, and then someone is offended afterwards because you
Right.
didn't make it funny enough.
Right.
So
I agree.
You can be offensive as you want, as long as people laugh. Is that?
Because that's when people get offended. If you don't make them laugh, then they're offended.
Right, and that's the thing of like, that's what I love about comedy is nobody is pedestaled and nothing is pedestaled, and everything is up for grabs. But you got to have the right timing. You got to have the right approach. I mean, there are comedians who do jokes about suicide and rape. Like Nikki Glazer does a lot of roast with suicide, being the punchline, but she does it well because she sets it up well. She delivers it well, So, yeah, but also that doesn't mean anything can be made funny. That doesn't mean you can make anything funny.
Yeah.
There's also a part of who your persona is, the tone of your voice, your attitude, your style. Does that joke fit with who you are?
And are you the right person to make the jokes? Eric makes a lot of racial jokes. It's better coming from Eric than it is from me. You know what I mean? Because what do I really have to contribute to the discourse, So, yeah, you can make jokes about it, but are you the right person to do it? Are you bringing anything new to the table, or are you bringing old, dusty jokes that have been done before,
Right.
Because that's another thing people get mad about.
Right.
They've heard these jokes before. They're tired, and they're tired of that stuff.
So are we saying anything's fair if you're funny?
Yeah, depending on
If
We've
the
not got to be a little bit more responsible than
Well,
that, maybe?
I don't agree, but
Right.
let's be.
No, but what do you
please,
think?
What are your lines?
I mean, I've heard it, and I think to each their own. Like, I would never say, ugh. But for me, it's like, if I were an audience member, and I saw someone do something, I'd be like, ugh, bad taste.
Right.
Because I think, I guess it does come from the way that you deliver it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for me, if you're not telling if you're telling your story, then it's okay. But if you're telling someone else's story, I don't think so.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, and that's a really good way of doing it. Is like going back to Remy. Are you the person to tell that joke? If you approach it with comedy in mind, great. Also, if you approach it with respect, like you gotta respect anything you're willing to make fun of. I don't want to say you gotta respect, but you at least have to take it into consideration. Be like, all right, this is what I'm gonna make fun of. I need to get this shit right. Otherwise, it's gonna come off half-assed, and that's when,
Don't do Holocaust jokes in Israel.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
in a
or
sense.
Or
if
unless you
you're
can
Jewish.
make it funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or if you're not Jewish. You
Yeah,
can.
like,
Yeah.
I just
Really?
that's like part of like what I think. It was just like it's just not your story to tell.
Really?
Right.
So
That's what I think.
Because I'm Jewish, I can joke about the Holocaust, but you guys can't. Is that what you're saying?
Well,
Oh, and like punching the like we've heard this a bunch now,
Punching
but like
up versus
punching
punch-
upwards
or punching
instead
down.
of punching down, you know, like for years and years and years, I spent my whole childhood listening to men gripe about women and shit all over us for years. And now guys will get on stage and they'll say some jokes about women and they're like, oh, no one thinks I'm funny, I'm a white guy, no one wants to hear me, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, it's just, we have heard that shit before. Like,
Right.
we've
Also-
heard it.
It's like maybe
We've had it.
no one thinks you're funny because you're not funny.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, and that's
Do you wanna
absolutely true.
Explain punching up and punching down.
Yeah, so I actually had this discussion with somebody the other day about punching up versus punching down because they brought up Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle does whiteface, and this was versus Justin Trudeau doing that. And it was around that time,
Right.
and he's like, I appreciated when Dave Chappelle did whiteface. Like, okay, there's a difference, right? When Dave Chappelle portrays a white person, he is portraying someone with money, someone with a career, someone with a house, someone who is well spoken. He is not demonizing or creating a lesser human being. He's punching up. Like he's like if you look at Dave Chappelle's skits of white people, that is like the subconscious thing.
Right.
We'll see. Versus let's go with blackface, right? Blackface was meant in America at least to dehumanize African Americans, right? Associate them closer to apes or monkeys and make them seem lesser. They can't speak English as well as we can. They have these weird, bizarre customs that make them lesser. So at that point, you're punching down, right? Like you're saying this is a demographic of people, and look how much lesser they are. So there is that difference between.
You're adding to this mountain of dehumanization that, in the end,
Right.
results in these people getting like harmed physically
Right.
and all that kind of stuff. Do you
Right.
want to participate in that,
Right.
even as a comedian? Do you want
Right.
to add to that shit?
Right, and it. And like, oh, well,
Yeah,
white people.
yeah, it's a little intense.
well,
But it's
and then,
true, it's true
right.
though.
And then there's that argument of like, oh, well, we white people get discriminated against too. Yeah, but your discrimination is you get annoyed for a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
Our discrimination is I can get shot and killed by a cop. Like that's my discrimination. Like I literally got pulled over by a cop when I was 19, and his legitimate answer to me was, "You don't belong in this neighborhood, son. Tell me where the drugs are." Like the discrimination is very different.
Did you sell him any drugs?
No. I just sold my back.
Just
one-
Percy.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
But,
I was
Eric
just.
ain't never sold a drug. Like just. No.
And you know what? Thank you for seeing that in me, Remy. Thank you for seeing nerd in me. Yeah.
Before I told someone yesterday we were going to do a comedy roundtable, and they were like, "What now?" And I was like, "Well, no, tomorrow."
Yeah.
And they were like, "Why now?" I'm like, "No, it's just comedy, you know." And it's like, "There's a virus. It's coronavirus. It's serious." And I'm like, "Well, I want to do a comedy chat. I mean, can we talk about that kind of stuff?"
Yeah, I mean, I'm not licking you in your face, man. Like this is.
we should maybe we should have all done it in masks or something.
Yeah.
So like.
Making
You know.
fun of corona stuff? Oh, just try and stop people from getting material
Right.
of
Yeah.
current world events. That's like
Yeah.
bread and butter of comedians.
I'm
could imagine.
writing a song. It's gonna be a country song, and it's called "Baby, Don't You Lick My Face." Coronavirus.
Baby, don't you lick my face.
Yeah. Oh, hand. Sorry, hand. I meant to say hand. But it
Face
was
face is funnier.
Yeah. Right. Okay. We change it. to
Rewrite the
that.
song now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Minkus is quite the talented musician, actually.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Yes.
Sometimes he brings comedy and music together. I like that. You haven't done that in ages, actually.
I should
So,
bring it back. Yes.
yes, I'm excited.
But anyway, yes, of course you can fucking joke about it. I had like a 5-minute routine full of Corona joke.
Yeah. How did it go?
We see. For example, at this moment, we're all freaking out, but people should learn this one thing from the Vietnamese. Because when things are going badly, you blame the Chinese.
Oh,
You want another one?
Yeah. Yeah. Blame the Chinese virus.
Yeah.
We're not allowed to. No, it's the Wuhan. No, it's COVID-19, right?
Yeah.
But it is made
Depends
in
on
China.
who you ask.
That's why I thought it wouldn't
Yeah.
last very long.
Yeah.
This virus, it doesn't last long.
Oh, the Chinese made it.
Yeah.
He should be a comedian. He's
Very
stealing
good.
my line.
Well,
good.
no, you know,
Out of
you
a
know,
square
s-
table.
sometimes the Chinese make things that don't last long. You know, seems like the virus is lasting a bit longer. So you know, well done, the world. But yeah, I just thought how like not completely coming off kind of, but how do you think like the Vietnamese authorities are dealing with the coronavirus? Other than Minkus making quite funny jokes about it, do you think they're doing a good job generally?
To be honest, like I was taken aback at how quickly the Vietnamese government acted when this all started. You know, immediately I got back home from Tet, Chinese New Year, and right away my classes were canceled. We were off. Like, you know, it's social distancing. We've kind of been doing it already for the better part of 2 months now. You know,
Right.
and I think it is kind of that. You know, they acted quickly. They saw it coming, and you know, people already, we have a mask wearing culture here, so that was already easier for us to transition into without it being a thing. Supermarkets here, I haven't been in a supermarket that's been like sold out of stuff.
Yeah, no one's
Right.
raided anything.
Yeah.
Everyone's been really chill about
So
it.
the culture and the way things are handled here, and also just how inexpensive medical treatment is here as well, has made it accessible for a lot of people. So
Didn't they do that thing where they made it free and they would in fact pay you $100K a day to be quarantined if it was
Right.
absolutely
That
necessary?
is true.
yeah.
Incredible.
So
Absolutely incredible.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess there are certain things good that come with a totalitarian regime.
The joys of totalitarianism.
Communism
Whoa.
has some good points.
totalitarianism
Sometimes.
and use.
Are we allowed to
Yeah.
talk about this?
It's too late.
We're not gonna say
Totalitarianism, we love it.
yeah.
Really good.
We're gonna, he's
Especially
gonna
the
be
Vietnamese
listening
version.
next week.
Which is a very good form
Right.
of communism and totalitarianism. Something. It is a very good party. It is a glorious communist party.
And voting is such a ball ache.
Yeah.
I know, you know. Why
You want me to take a
bother?
fucking
We all-
box?
we all
Fuck
want-
off,
Just
dude.
annoying.
Yeah.
You guys
It's
are
annoying.
sitting on the
I think it is the best system in the world. Just for the benefit
Absolutely.
of the
Look directly in the camera.
Absolutely.
You almost got that right.
So, Comrade Remy, what do you think?
I think they've done a great job personally. I like it. I think they've nipped it in the bud real well. Who's sick around here? No one.
Well, you couldn't see them
Thank
because
you.
they dead.
No.
Yeah, or we don't know.
So like, on this thing, I saw yesterday. I saw like a comedian, and he was like, "We're doing this comedy streaming. There's going to be 50 comedians like doing a set from their like bedrooms,
Yeah.
and then streaming it in. And like for me, like comedy is like in a smoky room. It's like cigarettes.
Yeah,
you
without
know,
the
people,
feedback, man.
Yeah.
people shagging in the back room and
Right.
stuff. Do you like? How do you feel about? Would that work for you? Like just doing it at home, a set that you're streaming to people because they're quarantined?
I don't. See, the thing is, like, I've seen, like, we've recorded ourselves, and like, I've seen my performances, and you know, there is something lost when you're there live versus when you're watching a recording. Something is lost, and you know, for me, I'd be up for it. I'd be up for recording myself and you know, using that as a performance piece. But it is. The interesting is, yeah, the feedback, the people who are laughing with you. You know, I was watching, you know, the late shows with Stephen Colbert, and he was doing his set, and his jokes were just as funny, but I wasn't laughing because nobody was laughing. There was no feedback. There was no studio. There was no woos. There was nothing.
It's like why they add canned laughter to some TV shows.
Right, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
so I would do it if I had a little
Sign.
button, and
Right.
every time I said a line,
Yeah.
I could press the can
Yeah.
after button.
Yeah.
Then totally.
They have a sign in the when they're recording. They'll say like
Laugh.
laugh,
Yeah.
laugh. I think for this time and rate what now is going on.
Oh, it's fair game because it just simulates the atmosphere of a live room. So I think it's fair game.
Uh-oh.
I
Here we
choked
go.
on, choked on water.
Live on TV.
No, I choked on water. That happens.
And what about this kind of like cancel culture? And I don't mean events being cancelled because there's a killer virus in
Oh, this is a good one. This is interesting.
What do I mean? Like, you know, I know he's not a comedian, but like Kevin Spacey got cancelled because, I don't know, he tried to chat up a teenager. Or did I don't know what happened. And what about like Louis C.K. used to get his dick out and now he can't do comedy anymore? Should he have? Should they still be allowed to get on stage, or is it good that they've been ostracised?
It's not cancel culture necessarily, and I also don't like some people blaming it on the left. It's just the internet. You now can hear every single person's opinion. That's just what you get from the internet. There's no way that we can rewind this, adapt. That's all you can do is adapt to the new environment.
Yeah.
You can't cancel the internet, right?
You can't cancel people
I
being
say
able to
yes.
voice their opinion now.
Just do
Before
it.
you'd be
Turn
able
it
to
off.
just tell a joke and you had no idea what the world at large thought of it. Now people leave comments. If you're a comedian, don't read the comments, I guess. No one says that you have to get invested in it either. You really don't have to.
I guess certain things always warrant cancellation, you know, like if it's bad enough, but the only question is how bad is bad enough and
Right.
what kind of things should lead to it. That is the only debate. You know.
Yeah, doesn't
I'd say
Spacey like
cancel.
molest someone, like a young dude, like
I cancel
properly?
it. Cancel it.
You would. You're like, if someone is just out of line, they shouldn't be allowed to.
Yeah, I mean
do that.
that's their job. You know, like as much as they're a performer and they're in the entertainment industry, at the end of the day, like that is their job. And like as a teacher, there are certain guidelines that you have to go through, and if you know, at least where I'm from, if you like hit a kid, then you've violated some sort of guidelines, and you're probably no longer going to be teaching, and you're going to lose that job if you do something. Or if you, you know, basically
You
he
can't just say,
violated
"Oh,
some
I'm a comedian.
guidelines.
It's funny."
Yeah, I'm a
Comedy-
comedian. I can do whatever the hell I
Right.
want. Like fuck that. I just no.
So
Cancel
if you murder somebody, should you be allowed to perform?
No.
Just from inside
Ask
the prison.
OJ.
maybe.
Shit.
Question. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was an easy no.
Right, so if
Probably
I,
not Minkus.
If I haven't, but if I say kill somebody and I get sent to jail and I do my time and I get out, should I be allowed to do comedy again?
First of all, why did you get a
serial killer jokes?
right?
It really
someone
Why
on
would
your
you
mind
get
that you
out?
wanna
How?
kill?
Yeah.
One of my ex-wife. Never mind.
You better learn
One
to
of
make an
whoever
album over
goes
the
to your
phone.
show
How many
deserves
ex-wives
to
do
be
you
an
have?
audience.
Let's not get into that. It's just
No.
no.
Let's not get into murdering ex-wives.
No, not on camera.
It's not good
That's-
form.
No, I'm not gonna admit to any of it. All right?
Right. But also to like piggyback on what Remy just said, like, yeah, everybody has a voice now, and now and this is going back to like guys are like, oh, it's PC culture, I can't joke about anything anymore. No, like now everybody has a voice, and guess what? We're gonna let you know what we think. You know, going back to it, like look at history. Do you think most people were cool with the policies that went on, or did they just not have a voice? Right, right. When they erected the like Confederate statues, do you think black people were like, oh yeah, cool, let's get Lee up there, you know, or 3/5
Do
compromise?
you think it would have
Like-
helped if
Yeah.
I'm getting on Twitter?
yeah, exactly.
You know, would that would
Well,
it make
that-
any difference?
Well, it did. I mean, right? Because now that we're, at least in the States, right, in New Orleans, like, now African Americans and everybody has such a big platform to complain and be like, take it down, that we actually did get statues taken down because guess what? You have to listen to us. And one thing I've noticed in America is America won't start listening to you until you're a voting demographic. Once you're a voting demographic and they recognize you as the Latino vote or the black vote, things will then start happening.
So what demographic are you?
Latino. That's
Okay.
I mean, that's where I'll be put.
Okay.
That's where.
And Kelso, with the gay vote, I guess. I keep putting it in inverted commas.
At least
It's
you
like,
didn't echo this.
I can't possibly believe she's really gay.
Allegedly
She can't be.
Allegedly.
She can't be. What would I be? I'd
The
be
gay vote.
the bald Jew vote.
Token
You'd be the.
negative.
Oh, you can't vote.
What?
Can you?
What is that?
What about talking about comedy? Like, are there like some like certain comedians or certain bits that you've seen in your life that like you can never forget, or you think were particularly just like brilliant, or maybe it was one that you did yourself? I don't think anyone's arrogant to quote one of their own bits as being hilarious. I don't know. Yeah, there's one bit I did. What I mean, 'cause there's a comedian that you just like, which is
Yeah,
fucking so funny.
there are
that-
people I keep going back to. I can't quote any quote off the top of my head, but there are people you just like. They're so like you, and that's somebody you want to be like. So yeah.
Yeah. What about you? Any like particular bits or that
Yeah,
you can...
like I know exactly the moment. I know exactly. You know when you're a kid, like super young, and everyone's like, you're not allowed to talk about politics or religion, and you're like, you're just not allowed to. I saw Billy Connolly railing against religion on stage, and I was like, what the? Are you allowed to do this? He was like going on about 72 virgins. Sounds like a fucking nightmare. Just give me 2 fire-breathing hells. And it just stuck with me forever.
It's
Like, I
true.
don't
What's
know
the
if you talk
obsession with
about stuff like
versions?
that.
You do. He's right. You want a whore.
Yeah.
You want someone that's been around the block a
There's
bit,
72
right?
of them, ew, gross. So yeah, I don't know, that rocked my world. I know exactly, that moment, like a light bulb, man. I'll never forget that. That was when I became aware of comedy as well, became a thing.
Yeah, I saw that. It was very, very funny. What about you, Eric? Is there any like particular bits or comedians even that you just like have
man.
always kind of worshipped, adored, whatever?
So yeah, I mean, I always throw it up to the first comedian that I saw when I was 6, John Leguizamo.
Okay.
John Leguizamo, his Freak had just come out, right? This was when he was big with like The Pest and Super Mario Brothers and stuff like that. And it was a one-man show, and I loved it for so many reasons, and I still watch it to this day because, again, I think I draw a lot of how I do my comedy from him, which is he talks about his life, and he talks about all of his identities, growing up in a working household as a first generation American, but also growing up in the hood, but then also being like he brings all of those in to his set. And I just keep going back to it in Sexaholics, Latin American History for Morons. I study his performances a lot.
Okay, good. Kelso, any like particular comedians or moments that like stand out, inspired you?
I feel like I'm the worst comedian in that aspect. It's like I actually don't really watch that much stand-up.
Keeps you fresh.
I feel like I'm a little scared that if I watch too much, I'm going to start to try to depict someone else instead of myself. Maybe. So like, so I don't really watch that much. I definitely still enjoy it, and I do delve into people that I think, this could probably be funny. But it is, there's no one that I would like be like, that was it. I've just always wanted to try it. And I also just think I'm too scared.
I know how you feel. Like a lot of our comedian circle are like encyclopedic when it comes to comedians, and I haven't watched like nowhere near as much as they have.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's just like I also played soccer in university, and I like don't really watch soccer ever, and I never have. So like,
But it's the same with musicians. Like some people just listen to everything, and some people just don't, and they don't know the famous names even. Just play their own thing.
The one thing I found difficult the very few times I tried to do comedy is that like just generally you're supposed to practice your bit over and over again until it gets good, right? And I used to find I'd do something, it didn't work, and then like I felt bad doing it the next week, like I was cheating people, and there were a few people there that were there last week, and I'm telling them the same joke again, hopefully a bit better. And that for me personally, I found that awkward. I know what you mean, because you try to always keep it fresh, right?
Yes. I almost never do the same set twice. It's always something, change something.
Yeah. And what about you guys? Do you prefer to polish it or?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're never done with the joke. You're never done with the joke, and I think that's one of the, like, people who don't really know a lot about comedy give that criticism of like, oh, you're still telling the same joke. I was like, no, I'm not. If the feedback I get from other comedians and people who know about comedy versus people who don't are very similar, are very different. The people who don't know about comedy say, oh, you're telling the same joke. But the people who know about comedy, like, take me aside, like, I see how you tweaked it, or I see how you, like, you swapped out a word, or you changed your timing, or you changed your expression, or now you started walking back and forth versus staying still when you tell that joke. Yeah, you have to polish it. I mean,
I think some people don't realise that a professional comedian has been doing that, like, for, like, a year before he tours it, right?
Yeah,
Hundreds of times.
Kevin Hart, I mean, I was watching one of his first specials, and then I went and watched some of his underground stuff before he got big. This was like early 2000s. Like, some of his jokes he was telling was 10 years old. I mean, Dion Cole was on the stand-ups, and I remember seeing him when I was a kid, and he still had the same bit, but it was a lot better, where he would walk up with a paper and a pad, and he'd tell his joke, and if it didn't hit, he'd be like, and that was part of the bit.
Right,
so
yeah,
like,
Stuart Lee does that.
Yeah. So, bits you need to keep working on.
Okay. Well, to round it out, and I'm putting you all on the spot here. I mean, is there like, I'll go round, like one joke, one-liner that you just like love? Yeah, I'll tell you one I like. Yeah. How do you stop a dog from fucking your leg?
How?
pick it up and give it a blowjob. Yeah, I love that joke. I'll always love it. Right? I just think it's perfect. So yeah, let's go round. Remy, have you got a particular joke that you like or not? Or
Yeah,
not?
sure. One of my lines, and it's also one of the very first jokes I ever wrote, was like, I tell people I'm turning 35 next year. And everyone complains about being in their 30s, but I think it's better. Like, I'm better looking, I got more money now, I'm less rapeable by the day. It's not that bad.
Less
I
rape.
said less, okay?
I think it's funny. Minka said, what, you got one?
Good.
For myself,
Either, doesn't matter. Yeah.
well, I like to tell the audience in Hanoi that whenever I see you lot, I feel like I'm turning into a Vietnamese redneck. These bloody foreigners, they come over here, they take our English teaching jobs
Sorry about
and
that.
our ex-wives.
They do. I haven't stolen anyone's ex-wife. Have you?
You should get on it.
No.
Yet.
No.
No, they're all. And yeah, any particular jokes that you like, hate?
I like the audience. This is a joke I tell that the audience doesn't laugh at, but I will tell it till I die because I love it. It's I talk a lot about like at the LAUSD and reading. Like literacy is not big on LAUS, the Los Angeles Unified School District, and I was like, you have to learn reading because otherwise you don't know what gang sign you do. And people are like, it goes over their head. And I look at the crowd like, you don't believe me. I had a dyslexic cousin who tried to sign bloods once. We still can't talk about that Christmas. And the audience doesn't get it, but I love it. Just like the image of a dyslexic cholo walking up and go, yeah, what's up? Wrong shit. That was it. Like,
It's good, man. Don't stop doing that joke. Don't stop. What about you, Kelso? Any particular standout
I'm
line?
just gonna
that you
do my
just-
name one. I think.
That's what I was thinking.
yeah, like that.
I usually say open with, my name is Kelso. Sometimes in Thailand it's Khao Soi, and in Vietnam it's Khao Su, which I just recently learned means rubber, or someone who's always late, which is kind of funny because with the current lifestyle that I live, neither matter.
And then you give it like a moment, and
And
then
then-
you're like,
yeah,
I knew you
it's
get it.
everybody.
You get it.
I didn't know I was gonna hit like that the first time. I just
Yeah.
kept going, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh,
Right.
now that was like, I guess maybe an example of the.
Sometimes you
next time
gotta
I
have
give a
faith in a
pause.
joke.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta have faith and just like let them marinate for a second.
Yeah.
Be like, there it goes.
Well,
there it goes.
Kelso, Eric, Minkus, Remy, thank you like so much for being on the first Chao Hanoi round table. No, the first Chao Hanoi rectangle table.
Very good.
It's been really great. We're going to be doing some lots more round tables in the future. I hope some of you can come back on.
Cool. Thank you so much for having us. This was a
Team.
real honor.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cheers.
Cheers.
That's when we tell the camera it's all actually vodka.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not. So this is what water is like.
Yeah.